Okay. Liz wasn't happy because she could be seen.
I'm happy.
Happy faces on everyone. I like the giggle. I like the giggle.
I was waving from behind
I didn't.
the yellow because it was over a crack and I could see it and I was like, and
I didn't check that the microphone's working, but it's lit up, so I'm assuming it's working. That is reminding me before introductions of this weekend we did a Facebook Live event and a Zoom, and the Facebook Live couldn't see the Zoom, and if you watch Facebook Live, you don't see anyone else. You only saw me. And my sister joined, and I was like, "Oh, my sister's watching." She just jumped in to like check it out for a second, and I said, "My sister's on," and over on Zoom, Liz is like, and I'm like, "She can't see you." Oops. And then my sister, I later saw a comment. My sister had typed a comment saying, "I waved too." Nobody could see her. That was awesome. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Sun Dragon Sideshow.
The Adventures of Liz and Rebecca. That's Rebecca. She's the owner of Sun Dragon Art and Fiber in Brevard, North Carolina.
I'm trying so hard to wake up right now. That's Liz, and she is my assistant / minion, self-designated at Sun Dragon Art and Fiber in Brevard, North Carolina. Yeah, I'm trying real hard. I've been up for a while. It's not like I just woke up, and I had coffee. And for any of you who watch the show, this is normal. This is me trying to be awake and with it.
There was talk about dying in public spaces, but you know.
Yeah, I said I'd die quietly in the corner today, but then she'd have to deal with all the customers herself. Yeah. So that wouldn't be good. Excuse me, trying to be polite about that and health conscious and whatever. Yeah, I actually washed my hair this morning. Woo. Rare occurrence in pandemic times, and had it down for a meeting I was just on with the Transylvania Chamber, which was, it was like 36 people on that meeting. That's one of the bigger groups. Our knit night has gotten up to what, like
20.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. But 25 is what my computer can fit. And then it goes to a page 2. We haven't hit a page 2 on knit night yet, but that's okay. So I pulled my hair up without really looking, and that went okay.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
I mean, who cares in pandemic times, right? But I am like a visage you all get to look at. So if my ponytails are a kilter, my pigtails are a kilter, you can tell me. Anyway, yeah. So I've been up for a while. Maybe that's why I feel tired. But I drank the last of the Bernie coffee in the red container this morning. So I still have a little left for my next installment. She's my supplier for coffee.
So. I'm the mule. I bring it back and forth.
And sometimes she's a yarn mule too.
Yeah.
So just keep breathing, right? Yep. No, I'm a little tired because this weekend as I was just mentioning, we did a sit and stitch in the afternoon that was both Facebook and Zoom side by side. And having a third one on the few days I actually try to get rest on the weekends, while it was kind of fun and exciting. And we had people hopping in and out on Facebook, which was kind of fun. And we want to try to do that like once a month. It's catching up with me now.
It makes for a long weekend.
But we're only in the shop 2 days a week. That's our joke to each other, because we're here interacting with the public outside 2 days a week. But so much more is happening.
It was funny. Last night, I FaceTime with my mom multiple times. But anyway, last night, before I go to bed, I always call my mommy. And Mom goes, "So how was knit night?" And I'm like, "Wait, did I miss something?" "Oh, that's tomorrow night, Mom."
No one can tell time right now. And it's understandable. So yeah. But it's true. In case you aren't aware, we interact with the public outside on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 to 5. And the other days, you can't walk up and expect us to do business with you. So that's what people say when, what's your own, what? You can make appointments on Wednesday and Friday online. We'll let one person in a day, but you have to schedule that well in advance, at least by noon that day, if it's free.
Yeah.
We're booked up this week for that, for inside shopping. And there's all kinds of regulations for that. Sorry, guys, but it's fact. And we do lessons in the morning. I do lessons on Tuesday. I can't get my days straight. Wednesdays and Fridays. If I take my time, it comes out right. Maybe.
This is going to be a fun day.
But I'm not migrainey. I'm just bone weary tired.
Yeah.
So no, Wednesday and Friday, I help people outside for appointments. And those are booked up till like mid-August at this point. And so we're grateful that we're still here and functioning, but a little tired isn't a strong enough word. So, but I'm gonna put my happy face on and not over dwell on that. Maybe, I don't know. Language is weird. Time is weird. Everything is weird. So, one thing I did, I tried to do like a whole bunch of different projects. I even started some new projects, and there's so many random ones, some that I have made no progress on, and some that I've made what might seem ridiculous progress on. But I want to talk about what Liz is doing first, because otherwise then she won't get a chance to speak edgewise. So it's not a thing.
So
what you working on, Liz?
I'm working on my night shift.
But you made progress on that.
I have almost, well, actually I'm starting section 9, so I finished an entire section over the weekend, which is only like 23 rows, but
they're long rows. They're not as long as Papillon rows when it gets really big. But
I did my last of color 8 this morning, and it only took like 5 or 10 minutes to go across a row, which is like fantastic because it was only like 160 stitches on the needle.
It took me like half of my coffee connections to go across one row on the crochet thing, and crochet is fast. So yeah. Yes.
I'm finishing up this row so I can hold it up and show everyone.
All right, so I'm gonna vamp. Thank you for just I'm just gonna say bless you to her. Built-in sneeze guards. That's not new, but is
no,
that
I've worn it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's new enough. It's very pretty. Is that batik?
It is.
Batik is very pretty.
It's lighter weight. I mean, it's tighter woven than most of my cotton fabrics, but it's
so it'd make a really good mask, and so that's a really good sneeze guard. Right there. There you go. Okay.
So
that whole dark and broody part at the top was not on it when we showed it to you last week. So you have definitely made progress. And let's see, were you totally changing colors, or any colors that are here also up there?
No. When I started section 8, it was like cut both of these colors, and I was doing Lorna's Lace's Christmas
favorite color ever,
and Shenanigans. Are these two, so they kind of matchy, but
they do, but they don't. But on camera they will look like it. But I will say that Christmas at Downton are the bubbles down here, so you can see a little bit of overlap, but it's not like a fade overlap.
And the color scheme for section 9, which should be interesting, is Shenanigans, which
we don't have Shenanigans.
No, I bought the last skein of it. So
we don't have Shenanigans in the shop.
It's this teal and brown and green.
It's bright. It's really cool.
It's nice.
It's almost like camo, but it's jewel toned camo. Yeah. Like, I really love it.
So that's going to be my background color, and then Zombie Barbecue is going to be my bubbles.
Oh, that's going to be awesome.
So
that's going to be fantastic.
That's what I'm starting now.
Yeah.
And then when I finish section 9, I cut those 2 colors again, and then I go to Zombie Barbecue is my background color, and Daffodil becomes my bubble color. But I'm thinking about not doing that one because there's a swatch of color that I want to do from a friend's Papillon, or not Papillon, Night Shift. And she mixed this one,
which is very neutral and light.
Very neutral and light with
that one.
Ooh. And it just, oh my gosh, it was so cool. So I'm probably going to either end or something.
Which is another example of how colors you don't think would look well together do. And since we're doing all this, so she's doing the Night Shift. This is my shift. We've already talked about it, which is the cowl, which is designed for 3 color changing yarns, and I use 1 color changing and 2 solids. And now I'm thinking, because we are about to get more Feederbrook in hopefully this week or next, I might have to do a Night Shift in Feederbrook, which is like, it was written for Spin Cycle, which is a slowly changing colors. Liz is doing one that is,
they're
just
all
multicolored, just
multicolored,
variegated multicolor craziness. Seeing how colors all, any color combo can really work. I'd love to have a sample for the shop that shows how the fadey, but picking colors that you wouldn't think would go together. That will be our objective when the new stuff comes in.
The other difference between mine and the normal, or the supposed to look, I'm doing mine in Garter, all Garter.
That's true. We forgot to mention that last week.
The repeat on the pattern is when you're doing the bubbles, one is knit back and forth. And then the contrasty color is supposed to be done knit across and then purl back across.
Like the background color is Stockinette.
Yeah. And
with the bubbles and Garter.
Yeah. I changed the P to a K.
She doesn't like purl.
And keep going. So mine has almost a whole different look than
it's a little more textured. Like we talked about this on Knit Night that
I call it not flat because you can see all the ridges. Like if you hold it like this, there's a whole bunch more ridges. Rebecca's is more flat than mine.
It's flat with the bubbles of color popping, like bumping out, whereas yours is everything's bumpy.
Yeah.
So that's, it shows you if you want to change your P's to K's, that's what it'll look like. And if you want to have it more of a flat surface with the bubbles really popping, do it this way. Do it the way it's written. But
super high contrasty areas, like this is not. These were closer together than probably, but like the super high contrasty areas, you can still see the
bubbles and stuff. Visually rather than texturally.
But right? Texturally, it is the snuggliest. Oh my god.
Garter is very snuggly and soft. So I might have to do one just to contrast with that. But I think that's a wonderful example of how you can modify patterns. You can change things and it won't ruin it. Especially like my qualifying remark on that will be if it's something that has to fit like a sweater. Garter, the rows of Garter will have a different gauge than rows of knitting, rows of stockinette. And usually I'm not, when I test my gauge and measure, I'm not so worried about rows, but it's gonna throw it off more if you do a different textural stitch than what the pattern was written for. Now for cowls and for shawls and things that just, for the most part, are not gonna be totally thrown off by that, who cares? Right?
I just changed my mind.
That's not a thing.
I'm not gonna mix because I'm at the point where I can actually either change the pattern, and it's not really changing the pattern; it's just changing the color.
Carolizing. Well, yeah, it's true. If you don't change the stitches, you might not be as carolizing as
not changing
Carol.
The stitches at all. But I'm at the point where this is my pile it's shrinking.
She's using it up, so it's shrinking.
But I still have decent sized balls to choose from. And I was looking, have I used Shenanigans before? And I did it with the
I was
Shenanigans.
looking through too to say, where's the Shenanigans before?
It was the bubbles in the red background. So I'm going to do, since I started Shenanigans as the background, I'm going to use up some of my red.
As the bubbles?
As the bubbles. Ooh. So it'll kind of bring some of that red back up towards the other end.
And here's the thing with that, with the night shift, is she can keep going. Like the Papillon, you cannot expand it without some serious headaches and math. But something like this, you can keep expanding you can just make it ginormous and more rows if you want to add more sections in and more colors, and that's great.
And the reason for that is the pattern is written for 10 sections. Mm-hmm. But she gives you the recipe for the pattern. Like, here is how the pattern works. You do this section this many times and this section this many times. And if you change your background color, do it on the wrong side. And if you change this color, you do it on this side. And so you can go on indefinitely. Yeah.
Have fun with it.
Yeah. I'm going to make mine bigger than 10 sections because I want to use up yarn.
Yeah.
Because,
I realize. Hang on. I still haven't woven the ends in. But I finished this. I don't think I was finished with this on Thursday. I've done so much since Thursday. No wonder I'm exhausted. I went on, I'm sorry. Were we done with the?
I'm done.
Okay. I suddenly went, squirrel!
No, I've moved on.
I'm gonna have strands hanging off of this, but this, I think I was showing this off on Thursday, and I was probably close to being done. I was probably up here somewhere, but I wasn't done. This is, I went on a total tear. I'm working on 3 of Rachie Newman's designs right now. I put 5 in the newsletter. She's got a lot more than that, but I was trying to sample some different stuff. So I finished this. I started this early last week. This cowl has double crochets, half double crochets, stripied, back post double crochets, which gives you a texture, a kind of ribbed looking texture. And this is where I did slip stitches. So that's my seam per se. I can show you on the other side. And then just backing back out again. So this is a short project, I would say, with some intermediate level stitches just in the center. The back post double crochet, which adds, it's extra squishy and thick. And this looks huge, right? Someone was saying on Knit Night, this looked like a tube top. And I'm like, a tube top for someone a lot smaller than me. But yes, I got big girls. I don't do tube tops. Hang on. Okay, there's where all this, I want to make sure the seam's in the back. But even though it's like, it looks huge, when you put it on and it got stuck on my pigtails, because I need to sew the ends in. It just flops and squishes, and you can kind of arrange it so that different parts of it are visible if you wanted the middle showing. She's got modifications for this, so if you wanted that textured part on the edges, you could reverse stuff to have different parts be visible. You can make it shorter or longer. I yarn chickened the life out of this, so 2 skeins of yarn. I got kits up online, by the way, for this and different color combos. I basically milked every last inch of yarn out of this that I could and got just through her pattern, which is great. I tend to be a looser crocheter than most, so this might, if you use the yarn she recommends and the hook she recommends, yours might come out a little bit tighter than mine. But I really love how this came out, and it's so comfy, and I'm not hot yet in it. Partially because air conditioning and partially just because it's comfy and it's not restrictive.
It looks so snuggly
and bright, yummy shop colors and ooh. So that's the first thing. I finished this apart from sewing the ends in. Very proud of that. And then I decided to try a more complicated shawl of hers. I put right in the middle of the 3 things I'm trying crochet wise. This is like advanced beginner, almost intermediate level. But it's fast. This shawl that I went squirrel and didn't finish yet. This is her wildflower shawl. I'm gonna try real hard not to, because I have 3 skeins of yarn at work in this. There we go.
Which, isn't that a shawl you liked like months ago?
Yeah, I went back and looked through my pictures, and I took a screenshot of this last year, I want to say, or whenever it was released. Like right after it was released, I was like, ooh, that's cool. And then I forgot about it. And I originally, last week I was talking about it, and I said, I picked out these 2 awesome colors. And then I realized it was written for 3. So, my bag is a hot mess. So originally I had, this has a Fiber Spates tonal and a Sugar Bush hand-dyed variegated in it. And so I was like, ooh, I'll do the same thing with different colors, still shop colors, yay, muted yellow. And I picked out one of the Sugar Bush variegateds, and then it needed 2. And I was like, I was eyeing this one. Mm-hmm. So these are my 3 colors that I'm using. And this, again, to show you, it's a half hexagon shawl. It has the puffs on the 2 borders. Instead of 1 border in the center, we have 2 borders coming out to make it a 3-section shawl in a way, going across and back. And there's some complication to this one. But if you know basic stitches, you really can handle it. We've got puffs. We have going down a couple rows to make the puffs over some other rows. But it's going to be so pretty when it's done. I'm so super excited by this. And I figured I'd just fly through it and finish it. And so I was pacing myself. And then I went, squirrel! Because what?
During Facebook Live.
Yeah, well, I had kind
Actually,
of planned,
it was planned on.
I planned to Facebook Live squirrel, kind of. So I don't know if that's a true squirrel. But I was like, oh, I want to show off some puffs. Oh my gosh, my yarn is so tangled down. I'm glad it's off screen. I wanted to show off some puffs. So I was like, I'm going to take a break from this. And before we left the shop on Friday, I said, hey, there's this other one that I want to try that that she wrote that I put in the newsletter that's worsted weight. So this is DK. Both of these projects are DK, which is, you know, thicker than fingering, which a lot of people get turned off from doing. I'm getting distracted by my yarn mess here. A lot of people maybe get turned off from doing crochet because a lot of the shawls that are out there are fingering weight, and they don't want to work with something that thin. And then other people, that's their bread and butter. So
there are ways to fix that. Just a lot of people don't know that yet.
Well, and what's your way to fix that, Liz?
So to fix that, you just get bigger yarn and a bigger hook. Same with knitting.
Make it a different size.
Yeah. There are those people out there who will say that you have to use the yarn and the needle required for whatever. And no.
Especially for a shawl. For, again, going back to if it's a sweater, I saw someone on Knit and Chat say, hey, there's a pattern written for sport weight and I want to make it out of bulky weight for a sweater. And it's like,
not, there are a couple of, well, there's a handful, maybe up to 20 sweaters on Ravelry that you can do that with, because the needle they start with for the pattern is like a 10.
Yeah.
And you can switch fingering all the way up to like worsted or chunky on that size 10.
Like the ranunculus.
Like the ranunculus. You can do whatever yarn you want to up to a certain point. But once you go beyond that needle, yeah.
Or if you're really trying to get the gauge of a sport weight sweater written for yarn for needles appropriate for sport weight, you're either going to, in bulky, it's going to be so stiff it could walk away on its own, or it's going to end up, or if you don't pay attention to gauge and use whatever needles you want, it's going to end up ginormous and you could fit 3 of you in it.
It requires way more math if the needles aren't big enough.
Well, and I think one of these posts, the person said, so can I make a smaller size and have it work? And I don't like to make guarantees on that. Yeah, in theory, if your gauge is too big, if your stitches, you have too few stitches per inch, 4 inches, whatever, if your gauge is much bigger because it's bigger yarn, bigger needles, whatever, in theory, if you make a smaller size, it may work out right. But what I always caution people is do the math. Because if you just say, I'll just go down a size, you may not be going down enough. Like, you got to take your gauge and stitches per inch and then divide the number of stitches for that. I'll usually find the torso measurement for the smaller size and how many stitches you'll have in the torso and divide it by my gauge per inch to figure out what size theoretically, because sometimes your gauge shifts while you're knitting, which just sucks, I know. But theoretically what size your torso will come out and if it will be close enough. I've done that with customers. We've sat and we've worked the math. But then the flip side is if you're following the directions for a smaller size and you have found, Siri just decided it wanted to try to decipher what I was saying on my watch. That's funny. If you're following the smaller size, because the math works this way, right? For the girls. The smaller size may have a different torso length because it's meant to be for the gauge it was written for a smaller person. So then you have to flip-flop back and forth between the size you wanted to make for the length of things versus, there's more work involved. If you are ready to tackle that challenge, all the more power to you.
I have occasionally, with some of my sweaters, gone up a needle size and either stayed with the size I would need for the pattern for extra room because I love positive ease. Comfy, yeah. Yes. Or I went down a size and there were moments that I was making it that I was wigging out because A, I hadn't done the math, and B, like you're knitting along and you've invested, 3/4 of the sweater top and you're like, it looks wrong. What did I?
And then and planning for yardage for something like that, you gotta overestimate.
Yeah.
Or be prepared for disappointment.
I tell people a lot I buy sweater quantities of yarn
chicken.
But there are times for sweaters that I might buy Afghan quantities of yarn just to make sure. And then I can always make a shawl or a hat or something to match.
Well, and my follow-up would be the stuff all that stuff I said about math, but then flip between sizes. If all of that sounds way too confusing, don't do it. Or do it with help. Know your limits or be ready to push your boundaries. Like, which one is going to make you more happy. That's what I'll say about that. So, but going back to the diadem shawl. So this one's the wildflower. And it will be much bigger, hopefully, by the next time we talk about it, which might not be till next Tuesday because, oh my gosh, it's just going to be weak. So the diadem shawl was worsted weight, which I was like, awesome. People can make progress with it. It actually, I would say, of the 3 things I'm going to show that I've been showing off, it has the simplest stitches. It's single crochets, double crochets, and chains, and that's it. And once you get going, there's a 3-row repeat.
Which means it's almost easier than the Fall River. It has a Fall River look to it, but Fall River has puffs.
Yes.
And that puff row uses twice as much yarn as the first 2 rows. But it's easy in the fact that it's all chains, double crochets, and puffs. And yours is even easier because it's chains, double crochets, and single crochets for locking things in. But I don't want to give them too much credit.
I hate to use coarse language, but they're a necessary evil in my opinion. I try to use them as little as possible for shawls. Like for little amigurumi like animals, like bread and butter for that. But I like the twisties.
I didn't bring in my papillon that I'm crocheting because I only got 1 row done.
Single crochet.
A single crochet for the rest of my life.
But no,
this is less stitches.
Someone on a virtual knitting group said, "Oh, that's the papillon. You could not the papillon, the Fall River. Like you could do that, to someone else we were hanging out with." And I'm like, "No, actually, it's simpler than the Fall River." Because she was like, "If I could do it, you could do it." And I'm like, "Well, but yeah, y'all can do it because it's even easier." So I started this with color changing yarn with a pastel version of this. Oh, I just gave you a glimpse. Of this is what the ball looks like, the cumulus, because we were like, what am I going to make this out of? It's worsted weight. And then Liz went, ooh, the rainbow yarn. in the cotton. I went, ooh. And then we said, which colorway? Because we got that really vibrant rainbow in that we talked about on the VSC last week. And we have this other rainbow. We only have 5 skeins and it's out of stock for me to reorder. We've got a neutral. We've got a blue. And I went, oh, but the pastel colors, which are not necessarily my colors all the time. And I brought 2 skeins of it home. 2 skeins. And I started busting it out because early rows in crochet and worsted weight really fast. And then I broke into the second skein, and you're supposed to, with a 3-row repeat, it's rows 5, 6, and 7. And you're supposed to end on a row 7 of the repeat. So 5, 6, 7, go back, 5, 6, 7, go back, 5, 6, 7. And I was running out of yarn on the second skein on a row 6. So it wasn't going to end where it was supposed to. So of course, I posted on Instagram, I said, I can stop, not where I'm supposed to, because I've run out of yarn, but I won't have the color I want in it, back in it again. I can back out, which to the row it's supposed to end on of the repeat, which means I really won't have the color I want to get in there again. Or I can start a 3rd skein of yarn. So what do you think I did? It wasn't a Liz size shawl yet. It still might not be a Liz size shawl. I got a 3rd skein. I came in yesterday and got a 3rd skein of yarn. And I played yarn chicken. This is how much I have left of the 3rd skein of yarn. And I will show you how big it got. Thank you for all being patiently waiting. And people who joined me on the live event are going to go, you did what? How fast? And part of that is because it's crochet and part of it's because I'm kind of fast.
And you went up a hook size, right?
I did. It's written for worsted weight. I'm going to give her an end. It's written for worsted weight and an H, and I went up to an I, and I'm already a loose crocheter. So
it's the smaller end of Liz size shawls.
Yes. So we hold this up. Look how pretty. It's lacy. You make quick progress on it. While it's up from far away, what I will point out is, so the ball started with aqua. I started from the outside of my first ball. It went aqua through to the gray that is right here. And so the second ball, this shows you as rows get bigger. See, this is fading right here. And yeah, Liz just, no, that's actually the 2nd to 3rd.
Yeah.
Here, just so you can see, here's where ball 2 started. I went to the gray, and then the second ball I started at the gray, and I went out to the teal again. Where Liz, can you point Liz to where, because it's almost hidden by the microphone. How crazy is this? Is where Liz is pulling on, is where the second ball ended, and I started the 3rd. And as the rows get longer, because it's going all the way down and all the way back up again, the color repeats are happening so fast, it almost starts to stripe more than fade. Like my last row started with purple and ended up over here in the pink, because it's the whole outside edge of this thing.
I like how it fades through, though. I'm glad you gave it one more.
So the 3rd skein, I started at the outside again and went back in, and I almost got to the gray in the inside of this again. So I'm gonna grab this so you can see some of it up close.
I like it. I like it.
Look at that. Isn't that pretty? And it's got almost like a butterfly stitch to it. Now, hers, when she blocked it, this is going to be the other interesting thing. Hers, when she blocked it, she pulled, I can almost pull them so you can see a little bit more of what the points would look like if this was blocked. This has not been blocked. But this is also really soft cotton, so I don't know if it's going to keep the structure. Hers, if you look at the Diadem Shawl online by Rachie Newen, it's going to have much more of almost an upside down crown shape around the edge. And I think that's awesome. And I'm not sure if I can accomplish that with soft cotton. But oh my gosh, like, yes, this is almost a Liz size shawl. You might have to go out to 4. These rows started getting really long though, but take a look.
But it's perfect.
Bum, right?
It's a perfect shawl for going to the grocery store and you just need something quick to cover your arms because they have the Aeron Arctic.
I'm stuck in my yarn because I haven't cut it yet because I wanted to show you.
Yeah. Assistance.
Ooh, it's around my arm. Okay. I almost did, but we're trying to be a little socially distant here. So, no, but it's just so pretty. Look at that. Look at that stitch.
And it's so wonderfully soft.
Look at that stitch. It's just, like I said, 3-row repeat. Really easy, I think, once you get the hang of it. Like very repetitive. Not too much to remember. Just got to remember what row you're on. So it is not charted. It is written out. But once you get the idea of the language, we had a whole discussion on Saturday of charted versus written out. And some people are more linguistic and some people are more visual. So different things will work for different people.
I like the combo of both because if you can't decipher what they're saying, you can look at the picture. Yeah. And if you can't figure out what the picture is doing, you can look at the words.
Yeah.
Like.
So I think we've been going on for a long time and we probably need to wrap up, but I did so much this weekend, which is why everything hurts and I'm tired. But I got inspired. Last thing I want to show you all, and we might talk about it more tomorrow if we decide to sell you some of this lovely yarn that's right in front of me, is we had Nikki, shout out to Nikki, came in a couple weeks ago, and a few other people have been interested in what I would classify as a step above super easy. I would still call this an easy shawl, but is it a step above super, super easy? The Pearl Soho triangle garter wrap, which I've shown you before, which I haven't made much progress on, so I'm not going to show you today, is super easy. It's like knit across, increase at the end, essentially. It's a little more going on than that, but it's like same row over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. If you want a little more challenge than that, but not super complicated, like a next step shawl or something that's meditative for someone who's not a beginner, but a little bit of challenge, like just a little bit of something to keep you engaged. The Age of Brass and Steam it's actually written to be a kerchief. So it's written to be small, like a shawlette, like a little one skein project. Worsted weight yarn. And I'm like, I'm going to make it a shawl. Like people I've been talking to, they're like, we'll just make it bigger. She has instructions to just make it bigger. And I went, ooh, we have this yarn called Luminosa, which is an alpaca viscose merino blend chainette with alpaca also blown into it. So the color, we'll talk about it more tomorrow, probably. Now that I've said it a couple times, we'll have to. The color is the chainette. And then all of them have black alpaca blown into it to give it a fuzzy halo. And I was like, ooh, that would be really cool. Simple pattern, something flashy with the yarn to show it off. And you recommended some colors, and I said, no, I'm going to do in Liz colors. I'm going to do in red. So if I hold this back here, this is a classic triangle shawl, extra increases than just on the right side row. And there's some, if I hold it up a little and move it around, you can see every once in a while there are eyelets, but only every once in a while. But if I hold this yarn back here, it looks black. And knitting with black, most people are like, oh no, I can't do it.
It looks black until the sun or light or something shines on it. Like I'm looking at it and it is the reddest, blackest red.
It's this yarn right here.
It's so good.
And this, I just ran out of, let's see, where? I yarn chickened. Look, this is the end of one skein. I'm gonna hold it closer so you can see the, and the yummy red will not show up really well on film. So, but isn't that pretty?
It's like a fire engine red with a black.
Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. It's dark and broody and wonderful and soft, so soft. The pattern as written. Oh, and look, I think my cat has already snagged some of this because he was sleeping on it last night. The pattern as written stops here with the third set of eyelets, which is right where my fingers are here. So if you do it as written, that's as big as it comes out. And it's a little kerchief, right, that you can throw around. I'm gonna make this a full-fledged shawl. I'm gonna use one more skein of yarn. Because it increases 4 stitch, most rows, adding 4 stitches on the right side and 2 stitches on the wrong side means it has a severe increase. Like it's a really wide, but not super deep triangle shawl, which makes it, maybe you can, for the kerchief size, you could tie behind your neck, that kind of thing, or pin it or what have you. Believe it or not, I came into the shop also yesterday because I wanted to be able to show you all the fullness of this. I am on a 60-inch needle right now.
I was looking at it going, wow, she got that like perfect spot. It filled up her needle.
And we don't carry 60-inch cable needles in the shop. So this is a set of Chowgu tips on a 50-inch cord. I Frankensteined it because I wanted to be able to show it off to y'all, because otherwise I'd be all super bunched up. So I'm going to keep going. And I also, I can verify, because when I was at this part right in here, which again, you can't see because it's so dark, the second set of eyelets, I followed the instructions wrong and didn't realize until I got to the third set of eyelets. And we both were talking and over FaceTime, and I was like, maybe I can just let it go. I don't want to have to redo all of this. And then I noticed that it looked really gappy and the structure wasn't there by not following the instructions right. So there's two theories on this, right? There is, just let it go. Who cares? No one's going to notice. And there's, this is really going to bug me. So it was really going to bug me. So I ripped out like 20 rows of this shawl and redid it. So this hand hurts a little bit today because I kind of overdid it. But yeah. Sorry, you were gonna.
I was like, you could just leave it. And then she showed me and I was like,
She went,
oh yeah.
The center holes, because they didn't have make one left and make one right, were like, and it didn't look right. So this shawl, and then we should go, because I think for me being exhausted, we talked a lot, or I talked, because I always talk a lot. Yes, I do. I talk a lot. Have you noticed?
Nope.
It's not a thing. This shawl has knits and purls. It has yarn overs and knit two togethers for the eyelets. And it also has yarn overs in every row for, there's a little bit of an eyelet edging that you can almost see right there. And then along the spine, it does make one left and make one right. And I have YouTube tips and tricks videos on make one left versus make one right. But that's it. That's it. As long as you have those techniques, and it's the complicated eyelets are only happening every 20 to 25 rows. So there's a lot of repetitive, easier skills in there. So
it's a shawl I've wanted to do, but
free pattern.
The reason I haven't is because if I do it all in garter, it's not going to look.
It's going to look very different because the eyelet rows, the reason these eyelets pop so much is because there is a row of knitting on the back side to make the whole eyelet like stand out from the stockinette that is happening here. But the stockinette, I think the stockinette really shines in a fun yarn like this. There's some stitch patterns that might be lost in a yarn like this. I think it's really wonderful and I'm really excited about it. And I've already put this yarn up online and we might talk more about it tomorrow. We'll see.
We'll just mention it casually.
Casually. We might have already talked about it enough because this is a long episode today. Sorry, guys. Thanks for sticking with us. I just had so much I did. I had to talk about it all. And there's a few other things I made like this much progress on that I didn't talk about. So we'll see if there's anything left from my side of the table to talk about Thursday.
This week I'll get more stuff done. I was making masks for my sister, so
it's not
I got no knitting done.
Well, that's important, right? It's not like people are waiting for us to make progress on things or something. It's not like we don't have a job to run the shop too. Oops.
I did realize on Friday I only have like 5 inches more to go on my red sweater.
Sweet.
On the sleeve. So
Goals.
I'm trying to do 1 row a day.
You get it done. I have like 6 sweaters I want to work on, but I have gotten sidetracked with shawls. For someone who said I was going to be on a sweater kick, I am on a shawl kick right now.
Such a shawl.
Because they're repetitive and soothing and I can get them done faster and there aren't as many instructions to follow. On that note, it's almost 10, which means you guys have stuck with us, like I said, for like 45 minutes. Thank you. Hopefully you're not like, dude, so long, what? Some people are probably like, why isn't it longer? But we have to go open the shop and handle the Vikings.
We're on their way.
We used to say Vikings when there was a busy day in the shop. And people would go, huh? And it's like they came and pillaged. And now we're saying it's still Vikings, but since they can't come in, they lay siege outside. So last week was incredibly wonderful sales-wise and completely exhausting pillaging and sieging-wise.
Thank you.
Thank you. We love you. Hopefully I don't collapse in front of you this week. I'm trying. Happy end of July, everybody. Stay safe. Mask up. Respect people's boundaries. Subscribe, like, share. Please do all that fun stuff. We are really getting, I say it every week, but we're getting close to 400. We're getting even closer. I think we're almost at 390 right now. So we're getting there. And then we can set a new goal.
Maybe I'll start a new project this week.
Ooh, cliffhanger. Okay. Bye, everybody. We love you. We love you. Join us for Sit and Stitch tonight or Friday, and we'll try to put the details in the comments.
Stay tuned for more adventures with Liz and Rebecca.
I can walk. I can do it.
Can you?
No. Oh, I almost got stuck in a lot of yarn.
Oh, I looked over and was like, that's not
At
good.
least I saw it.
Oh, that was...
Recipe for disaster. Bye, everybody.
Bye.